Her words hung in the air between us, heavy with vulnerability I never expected from the woman who controlled my career. "I want a baby," she said, her voice cracking slightly. What happened next would change both our lives forever, in ways neither of us could have imagined that rainy Tuesday afternoon. If you're enjoying this story of unexpected connection and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more heartfelt stories that remind us how life's most beautiful moments often come from its most surprising turns. I still remember the exact moment Catherine Reynolds walked into my life. Not the day she hired me as her executive assistant at Reynolds Publishing, that was 3 years earlier, but the real moment she truly entered my life, beyond job titles and corporate hierarchy. I was reviewing quarterly reports in her office, the downtown skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows behind her desk. Catherine sat across from me, her usual composed self in a tailored navy suit, auburn hair pulled back in a sleek bun. At 42, she was the youngest CEO in the company's history, having built the small family publishing house into a national powerhouse through sheer determination and brilliant business acumen. "James, I need to discuss something personal with you," she said, closing her laptop. I nodded, setting aside my tablet. In 3 years working directly under her, I'd never heard that tone in her voice, uncertain, almost fragile. "I want a baby," she said simply. The statement caught me completely off guard. Catherine had never mentioned personal desires beyond career goals. The office rumor mill painted her as the classic career woman who'd sacrificed family for success. I'd never believed those simplistic characterizations, but this revelation still surprised me. "I'm 42, she continued, her fingers nervously adjusting a pen on her desk. "I've built this company, achieved everything I set out to professionally, but I've realized there's this enormous void in my life. I want a child, but I don't have a partner, and time is running out." I sat there, unsure how to respond. As her assistant, I'd handled everything from crisis management to personal scheduling, but this fell far outside my job description. "I'm sorry," she said, shaking her head. "This is inappropriate. I shouldn't burden you with." "I understand," I said quietly. "More than you know." Something in my tone made her look up, really look at me, perhaps for the first time seeing beyond the efficient assistant who anticipated her needs and kept her life running smoothly. "My daughter Emma is 7 now," I said, pulling out my phone to show her a photo of a smiling girl with my dark hair and her mother's bright eyes. "I've been raising her alone since she was 2, after my wife died." Catherine's expression softened as she looked at Emma's picture. "I had no idea, James. You've never mentioned." "I keep my personal life separate from work," I explained. "But being a single parent is the hardest and most rewarding thing I've ever done." That moment of vulnerability between us, her confession of longing for motherhood, my revelation of single fatherhood, shifted something fundamental in our relationship. What had been strictly professional suddenly contained a thread of genuine human connection. "How do you do it?" she asked. "Balance everything?" I smiled. "Not perfectly. There are days when I feel like I'm failing at everything. But you find a way, because there's no choice. The love makes the impossible possible." Over the next few weeks, our conversations extended beyond work. Catherine asked thoughtful questions about raising Emma, the challenges of single parenthood, how I managed the logistics and emotional demands. I found myself sharing the reality behind the carefully maintained facade I presented at work, the morning rushes, the school emergencies, the birthday parties, the nightmares, the small triumphs that no one else would understand. One evening, working late on a major acquisition, Catherine looked up from her computer. "Would you and Emma like to join me for dinner this weekend? I make a decent lasagna." The invitation surprised us both, I think. That Saturday dinner changed everything. Emma, normally shy with strangers, took to Catherine immediately. My daughter showed her rock collection, explained the complicated social dynamics of second grade, and asked Catherine direct questions about why she didn't have kids of her own. "I was busy with other things," Catherine answered honestly. But I'm thinking maybe it's not too late. As the evening ended, Catherine helped Emma with her jacket. Your dad is pretty amazing, you know. Emma nodded solemnly. He tries really hard. Sometimes he burns dinner and we have to order pizza, but that's actually better anyway. Catherine laughed, a genuine sound I'd rarely heard at work. I bet it is. After Emma fell asleep in the car on the way home, I realized something had shifted in me too. I'd seen Catherine as my boss for so long, competent, demanding, occasionally intimidating. Now I saw her as a woman with the same fundamental human desires for connection and family that I had. Our relationship evolved gradually after that night. Catherine became a regular presence in our lives. She attended Emma's school play, helped with science fair projects, joined us for weekend outings to the park or museum. For her part, Emma adored Catherine, soaking up the female attention she'd lacked since losing her mother. At work, we maintained professional boundaries, but there was an undeniable undercurrent of something deeper growing between us. Catherine confided more of her fears about pursuing motherhood alone, the practical challenges, the social judgment, the worry that she'd waited too long. Sometimes I think I should just accept that this part of life passed me by while I was building the company, she admitted one evening as we walked through the park, Emma running ahead to the playground. It's never too late to change direction, I said. You've built an amazing career by making bold decisions. Why should your personal life be different? 6 months after that first vulnerable conversation in her office, Catherine invited Emma and me to dinner at her home. She seemed nervous, arranging and rearranging the silverware as we sat down. I have news, she said finally. I've been approved for adoption. A baby girl from Colombia. I'll travel there next month to bring her home. Emma squealed with excitement, peppering Catherine with questions about the baby's name, age, what toys she might like. I felt a complex mix of emotions, happiness for Catherine, pride in her courage to pursue what she wanted, and something else I wasn't quite ready to name. I couldn't have done this without you both, Catherine said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. You showed me what family really means. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. At work, Catherine prepared for her maternity leave, delegating responsibilities and training her temporary replacement. At home, Emma and I helped transform Catherine's sleek, minimalist apartment into a space ready for a child, with a nursery painted sunny yellow and bookshelves filled with children's classics. The day Catherine left for Colombia, Emma and I drove her to the airport. We'll be waiting when you get back, I promised. 2 weeks later, we stood in the same airport, Emma holding a welcome sign decorated with glitter and hearts. When Catherine appeared through the arrival gates, cradling a small bundle against her chest, Emma couldn't contain her excitement. Is that her? Is that Lucia? She asked, bouncing on her toes. Catherine knelt down, carefully tilting the sleeping baby so Emma could see her face. Emma, meet Lucia. Lucia, this is Emma, who's been very excited to meet you. As I watched them, my daughter gently touching the baby's tiny hand, Catherine looking up at me with tears in her eyes, I felt something click into place. The four of us, there in that crowded airport terminal, somehow felt right. Complete. The following months brought challenges neither Catherine nor I had anticipated. Balancing the demands of a high-pressure career with a new baby proved even harder than Catherine had expected. Lucia was colicky, sleeping poorly and crying for hours each evening. Catherine, accustomed to mastering any challenge through intelligence and determination, found herself humbled by the relentless demands of motherhood. One night, she called me at 2 a.m., her voice ragged with exhaustion. I'm sorry to wake you, but Lucia won't stop crying. I've tried everything. I think something's wrong. We'll be right there, I said, already getting dressed. 20 minutes later, Emma and I arrived at Catherine's apartment. Emma, still in her pajamas, immediately went to the crib and began singing softly to Lucia, a lullaby her mother had once sung to her. Miraculously, the baby's cries subsided. Catherine collapsed onto the couch beside me, dark circles under her eyes. What if I made a mistake? What if I can't do this? I put my arm around her shoulders. Every parent feels that way. I still do, sometimes. You make it look easy. It's never easy. But it gets easier. And you're not alone in this. As dawn broke, with Lucia finally sleeping peacefully and Emma curled up on Catherine's guest bed, Catherine turned to me. "Stay," she said simply. "Not just tonight. Stay with me. With us." 3 months later, I sold my apartment and moved Emma and myself into Catherine's larger home. 6 months after that, in a small ceremony with just Emma, Lucia, and a few close friends present, Catherine and I were married. Life settled into a new rhythm, chaotic, exhausting, but filled with a joy neither of us had expected to find. Catherine scaled back her hours at Reynolds Publishing, prioritizing family dinners and bedtime stories over late meetings. I took on more responsibility at work, eventually becoming COO as Catherine focused on strategic direction rather than day-to-day operations. Emma thrived with a new mother figure in her life and adored her role as big sister to Lucia. The girls, despite their age difference, developed the kind of bond that only sisters can have, fighting fiercely one moment, fiercely protective the next. On Lucia's 3rd birthday, as we watched the girls playing in the backyard of the suburban home we'd bought together, Catherine squeezed my hand. "Remember that day in my office when I told you I wanted a baby?" I nodded, smiling at the memory. I was so scared to say it out loud. Admitting that desire felt like confessing a weakness. And now? Now I know it was the strongest thing I've ever done. She looked at our daughters, then back at me. That conversation changed everything. "Your courage changed everything," I corrected her. "You knew what you wanted and weren't afraid to pursue it, even when it meant being vulnerable." Catherine leaned her head against my shoulder. "We've built something beautiful, haven't we?" As I looked at our family, the family neither of us had planned but both had somehow always wanted, I knew she was right. From that unexpected moment of honesty between boss and employee had grown something precious and rare, a second chance at love, a blended family built on choice rather than obligation, a life richer than either of us had imagined possible. Sometimes the most life-changing journeys begin with the simplest words spoken in a moment of truth. For us, it was 5 words that bridged the gap between professional distance and personal connection. "I want a baby," said the boss. And my calm reply, born from my own experience of single parenthood, opened the door to a new life for us all. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about love, family, and the unexpected ways our lives can transform when we're brave enough to speak our truths and open our hearts to new possibilities.